Admiral Viktor Petrov stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's newest and most ambitious space installation. The massive structure, hovering at the L5 Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon, represented humanity's first true step toward becoming an interstellar civilization. His weathered face, marked by decades of space service, reflected in the reinforced plasteel window as he watched the approaching vessels. "They're early," Lieutenant Commander Jasmine Wang noted, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. The three alien ships had appeared just outside lunar orbit, their sleek crystalline structures unlike anything humans had ever built. The Centauri delegation wasn't due for another 6 hours. Perhaps punctuality means something different to them, Petrov mused, though his instincts, honed by 30 years in the United Earth Space Force, screamed that something was wrong. The vessel's approach vector seemed too deliberate. The inauguration of Harmony Station was supposed to be humanity's formal introduction to the galactic community. After decades of listening to the stars, the Centauri had finally answered, promising peaceful contact and technological exchange. Their only request: build a suitable facility for first contact. "Sir," Wang's voice carried an edge of concern, "their energy signatures don't match the profiles we were given." Before Petrov could respond, the station's AI blared to life. "Unknown weapons systems detected. Hostile intent probable. All personnel to battle stations." The Admiral's blood ran cold as the alien vessels suddenly accelerated, their crystalline structures fragmenting into dozens of smaller craft. "Sound General Quarters. Get me Earth Command." The station's shields, designed more for cosmic radiation than combat, flared to life as the first salvo of energy weapons struck. Petrov grabbed a console as the station shuddered. "Status." "Shields at 60% and falling," Wang reported, her training keeping panic at bay. "These aren't the Centauri, sir. Energy weapons are completely different, far more advanced." Through the observation window, Petrov watched Earth's defensive fleet scramble to respond. The 12 ships, pride of humanity's space force, looked woefully inadequate against the alien swarm. "Station security reports boarding attempts on levels 3 through 7, an ensign called out. "They're bypassing our containment fields." Petrov's mind raced. 5,000 civilian scientists and diplomats were aboard, preparing for what should have been humanity's greatest moment. Now they were all targets. "Initiate Protocol Omega," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of command. "Emergency evacuation of all civilian personnel, security teams to critical sections, and get me Captain Dante on the line." Captain Marcus Dante appeared on the main screen, his ebony features set with determination. His ship, the UES Indomitable, was Earth's newest destroyer. "Admiral, we're moving to intercept." "Negative, Captain. You're to escort the evacuation craft. These bastards won't get our people." A violent explosion rocked the station. "Hull breach on level 5, the AI reported dispassionately. "Atmospheric containment failing in sections 12 through 15. Through the chaos, Petrov noticed something odd about the alien attack pattern. "They're not trying to destroy us," he realized. "This is a capture attempt." New alarms blared as more alien craft emerged from FTL. But these were different, massive, dark shapes that dwarfed the crystalline attackers. "Sir," Wang's voice was barely a whisper, "we're picking up transmissions. They're calling themselves the Nexari Dominion. They're demanding immediate surrender of Earth and all its colonies." Petrov straightened his uniform, a calm settling over him. Humanity had prepared for this possibility, even if they'd hoped for peace. "Send emergency code Black to Earth Command. Authorization Petrov Alpha 79. Wang's eyes widened. "Sir, that's..." "The authorization to activate the Prometheus Protocol," Petrov nodded grimly. For decades, Earth had quietly prepared for hostile first contact, developing weapons and defenses in secret. Now those preparations would be put to the test. "Lieutenant Commander, initiate station self-destruct. 10 minutes, we're not letting them capture our technology." He opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Admiral Petrov. The Nexari Dominion has chosen war. Humanity didn't ask for this fight, but by God, we'll finish it. Execute Prometheus Protocol. Authorization Code. Humanity endures. As evacuation pods streaked toward Earth and the station's reactor began its countdown, Petrov watched the alien armada grow larger. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species, easy prey for their dominion. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Humanity had hoped for peace among the stars. Instead, they got war. But if these Nexari thought humans would go quietly into the night, they were about to receive a harsh education in human resilience. The real fight was just beginning. General Olivia Blackwood strode through the underground corridors of NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain complex, her footsteps echoing off reinforced walls designed to withstand nuclear strikes. The facility, over a century old, had been extensively modernized for a new era of warfare. Holographic displays lined the walls, showing real-time updates of the escalating space battle. "Status report," she barked, entering the newly christened Extraterrestrial Defense Command Center. Colonel Raj Patel, her head of tactical operations, looked up from his station. "The Nexari have established a blockade in high orbit. Harmony Station's self-destruct was successful. They got nothing useful from it. Evacuation pods recovered by Captain Dante's task force. Admiral Petrov," he hesitated, "still unaccounted for." Blackwood absorbed the news with a grim nod. Victor had been a friend, but there was no time for mourning. How many enemy ships? 47 capital ships, over 200 support craft. They're launching what appear to be landing craft toward major population centers. "They're about to learn why that's a bad idea," Blackwood said, activating the central command interface. "Initialize 4th of July protocol." Around the world, hidden installations hummed to life. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for this moment, developing technologies in secret while presenting a facade of relatively primitive space capability to the galaxy at large. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Jennifer Nash called from her station, "we're detecting energy signatures consistent with their suppression field technology. They're trying to disable our defensive systems." Blackwood allowed herself a small smile. "Let them try. Colonel Patel, status of the Ghost Fleet." "All ships reporting ready. Quantum masks holding steady. The enemy still doesn't see them." The Ghost Fleet was humanity's ace in the hole, 20 stealth vessels equipped with experimental technology, hidden in plain sight using quantum field manipulation. While Earth maintained a public space force of conventional ships, these vessels had been built in secret, incorporating theoretical technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics. "Signal from Luna Base," Nash reported. "Commander Joe reports Operation Slingshot is ready." "Execute," Blackwood ordered. Across the lunar surface, massive electromagnetic accelerators that had been disguised as mining equipment powered up. They had been built under the guise of helium-3 extraction operations, their true purpose hidden even from most of their operators until today. Slingshot launching in 3, 2, 1. On screens throughout the command center, thousands of small objects erupted from the lunar surface, accelerated to incredible speeds by the massive coil guns. The Nexari ships, their attention focused on Earth, never saw the attack coming from behind. "RASER warheads performing as designed," Patel reported with satisfaction. The radiation amplification by stimulated emission of resonance weapons were another secret project, designed specifically to penetrate advanced energy shields. The Nexari fleet erupted in chaos as the lunar assault struck home. Their supposedly impenetrable shields, designed to stop conventional energy and kinetic weapons, proved useless against the precisely tuned radiation bursts that caused their power systems to overload. "Ghost Fleet, execute attack pattern Delta," Blackwood commanded. "Show these bastards what humanity's really capable of." The hidden ships decloaked simultaneously, appearing in the midst of the enemy formation. Unlike conventional human vessels, these ships were armed with weapons that seemed to defy physics: quantum entanglement disruptors, dark energy projectors, and gravitational lenses that could focus the power of small artificial singularities. "Multiple enemy ships disabled," Nash reported. Their command and control appears to be fragmenting. Signal from the Nexari flagship, Patel announced. They're requesting parley. Denied, Blackwood's voice was ice. They had their chance for diplomacy. Colonel, execute Phase 2. Throughout Earth's orbit, seemingly innocent communications satellites transformed, revealing hidden weapon systems. The Nexari had expected to face a primitive species armed with basic particle weapons and nuclear devices. Instead, they found themselves caught in a carefully prepared kill box. Remember what they tried to do here today, Blackwood addressed her command staff. They came to our home, threatened our people, expected us to kneel. Now they'll learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. The battle was far from over. The Nexari were an advanced species with vast resources. But in these opening hours of humanity's first interstellar war, they had achieved something crucial. They had shown the enemy that humans were not the primitive savages they had assumed. They were a species that had spent its entire history preparing for war, even while hoping for peace. As the Ghost Fleet engaged the remaining enemy ships, Blackwood opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is General Blackwood. The enemy thought they could subjugate Earth through superior technology and brute force. They thought we were weak. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night. Push them back. Take them down. Show them why you don't mess with Earth. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Cheers and battle cries from soldiers and pilots across the planet and into space. The real war was just beginning, but humanity had already proven one thing: they were nobody's prey. Captain Marcus Dante stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching as the quantum navigation display showed their fleet's position relative to the Nexari home system. After 3 months of bitter fighting, humanity had pushed the invaders back beyond Mars orbit. Now, they were taking the fight to the enemy. "Quantum tunnel stabilizing," reported Commander Yuki Tanaka, his navigation officer. "Fleet emergence in 5 minutes." The human counteroffensive, dubbed Operation Prometheus Unbound, represented the largest military operation in Earth's history. 50 Ghost Fleet vessels, accompanied by 200 conventional warships upgraded with recovered Nexari technology, were about to make humanity's first faster-than-light assault on an alien world. "Signal from the flagship," Lieutenant Michael O'Connor announced from communications. "General Blackwood is hailing all vessels." The general's face appeared on the main viewer, her expression resolute. "All ships, this is command. Today we take the fight to the enemy's doorstep. Intelligence from captured Nexari indicates their homeworld has never faced a direct assault. They're about to learn the meaning of human determination." Blackwood out. Dante touched the medallion under his uniform, a piece of Harmony Station's hull recovered from the debris field. Admiral Petrov's sacrifice wouldn't be forgotten. "Multiple contacts," Tactical Officer Rosa Martinez called out. "Nexari Defense Fleet moving to intercept." "Launch Fireflies," Dante ordered. From the Indomitable's launch bays, swarms of autonomous combat drones emerged. The size of fighter craft, each Firefly carried a miniaturized version of the quantum entanglement disruptor technology that had proven devastatingly effective against Nexari shields. The enemy fleet approached in their typical crystalline formation, energy weapons charging. But humanity had spent the last 3 months studying their tactics, analyzing their weaknesses, and developing countermeasures. "Ghost Fleet squadrons execute Pattern Omega," Dante commanded. "Conventional forces maintain distance and prepare missile barrage on my mark." The Ghost Fleet ships, including the Indomitable, engaged their quantum masks, seemingly vanishing from space. It was a technique that still confounded the Nexari, the ability to shift partially out of normal space-time, becoming virtually invisible and untouchable. The enemy fleet's formation wavered as they lost track of their primary targets. That moment of confusion was all humanity needed. "All ships weapons free," Dante ordered. "Show them what Earth can do." The battle erupted in a display of technological prowess that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Human vessels phased in and out of normal space, striking from impossible angles. Firefly drones swarmed through enemy formations, their quantum disruptors creating holes in Nexari shields that conventional weapons exploited mercilessly. "Sir," Martinez called out, "we're detecting something massive emerging from the Nexari homeworld." A vast structure rose from the planet's surface, a space station that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Its crystalline surface began to fracture, revealing thousands of smaller combat vessels. "Well," Dante said grimly, "looks like we got their attention. All ships initiate Phase 2. From the rear of the human fleet, specially modified cargo vessels opened their bays. What emerged wasn't weapons or fighters, but something the Nexari had never encountered: human ground forces. Drop pods by the thousands launched toward the Nexari homeworld, each containing members of Earth's newly formed orbital assault corps. While the space battle raged above, humanity would strike at the heart of Nexari power. "Message from Ground Force Command," O'Connor reported. "Colonel Patel reports first wave has breached atmosphere. They're encountering heavy resistance but advancing toward primary objectives." Dante nodded. The Nexari had never faced a species willing to engage in ground combat. Their entire military doctrine was built around space superiority and forcing surrender through orbital bombardment. The concept of enemies physically invading their homeworld was foreign to them. "Sir," Tanaka called out, "detecting massive energy buildup from the enemy station. They're powering up some kind of weapon we haven't seen before." "All ships evasive maneuvers," Dante ordered. "Firefly squadrons concentrate on that station, find me a weakness." The massive station's surface began to glow with accumulated energy. Whatever they were charging, it was big enough to potentially turn the tide of battle. That's when alarms blared across the Indomitable's bridge. "Sir," Martinez's voice was urgent, "we're detecting quantum fluctuations. Something's coming through." Space itself seemed to tear open, and through the rift emerged a sight that made every human officer stare in shock. Ships, hundreds of them, but not Nexari vessels. These were organic-looking craft, their hulls seeming to pulse with living energy. "We're being hailed," O'Connor reported, his voice uncertain. "Sir, they're identifying themselves as the Sylvan Collective. They say they're here to help." Dante exchanged looks with his bridge crew. The war had just become significantly more complicated. Humanity had wanted to show the galaxy they weren't helpless primitives. It seemed they'd succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. As the new arrivals engaged the Nexari forces, Dante opened a channel to General Blackwood. The real question now wasn't whether humanity could win this war, it was what kind of galaxy they would help shape once they did. Colonel Raj Patel crouched behind a twisted crystalline structure, pulse rifle at the ready, as Nexari energy bolts sizzled overhead. The alien city around him was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Buildings that seemed to grow from the ground, streets that pulsed with flowing energy, and an architecture that defied human understanding. "Status report," he commanded through his neural link, connecting him to the thousands of Earth troops spread across the Nexari capital. "3rd Battalion has secured the central power distribution hub," Major Elena Rodriguez responded. "5th and 7th are encountering heavy resistance near what appears to be their central command structure. The locals, they don't seem to know how to react to ground forces." Patel wasn't surprised. Intelligence suggested the Nexari had evolved beyond physical combat centuries ago, relying entirely on their technological superiority. They had no concept of street-to-street fighting, no experience with an enemy that would dare to set foot on their hallowed ground. "Sir," his tactical officer cut in, "you need to see this. Patching through visual feed from Scout Team Delta." The image appeared directly on Patel's retinal display, showing a vast underground chamber. Inside, rows upon rows of stasis pods stretched into the distance, each containing what appeared to be members of different alien species. "My God," Patel whispered, "they're collecting them, preserving specimens of every race they encounter." A new voice joined the neural link, the melodic, almost musical tones of Ambassador Thella from the Sylvan Collective. "This confirms our suspicions, Colonel. The Nexari are not mere conquerors, they are collectors. They seek to preserve what they consider interesting species while dominating or destroying all others. The alliance with the Sylvan Collective had developed rapidly over the past 24 hours. Their organic technology complemented human military doctrine perfectly. Where human weapons disrupted Nexari shields, Sylvan biotech could penetrate their physical structures. Movement, Lieutenant Wang's warning came just as a squad of Nexari combat drones rounded the corner. Unlike their space vessels, these ground units were clearly afterthoughts, clumsy attempts at creating infantry weapons by a civilization that had forgotten the art of personal combat. Patel's squad moved with practiced precision. EMP grenades disabled the drones' shields, while concentrated pulse rifle fire tore through their relatively fragile frames. It was almost too easy, like fighting an enemy that had never considered they might need to defend themselves on the ground. Colonel, Ambassador Thella's voice carried an urgency that hadn't been there before. Our biosensors are detecting a massive energy buildup beneath the city, the Nexari. They appear to be initiating some kind of planetary defense system. All units push forward, Patel commanded, breaking cover. Whatever they're powering up down there, we need to reach it first. His troops advanced through the alien streets, encountering sporadic resistance. Above, the space battle continued to rage, human ghost fleet ships and Sylvan organic cruisers working in concert to keep the Nexari fleet occupied. They reached a vast plaza dominated by a structure that seemed to pierce the clouds. "This is it," Thella confirmed. "The planetary defense system is beneath this building, but Colonel, we're detecting something else, something alive." Before Patel could respond, the ground began to tremble. The crystalline buildings around them started to resonate, emitting a high-pitched tone that made his combat suit's audio dampeners work overtime. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "the stasis pods in the underground chamber, they're all activating simultaneously." Patel watched in astonishment as the tower before them began to transform, its crystalline surface becoming transparent. Inside, he could see thousands of stasis pods, each containing a different alien being. The Nexari weren't just collecting specimens, they were harvesting them. "This ends now," he declared, switching to the command frequency. "General Blackwood requesting immediate orbital support. We've found their trophy collection and we're shutting it down." "Understood, Colonel." Blackwood's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Ghost Fleet is repositioning. Ambassador Thella, can your ships target the facility without harming the stasis pods?" "We can do better than that," the Sylvan representative replied. "Our bioships can interface with their stasis technology. We can wake them." Patel smiled grimly behind his combat helmet. "Do it. Let's show the Nexari what happens when all their carefully preserved specimens wake up and decide to take revenge." The air itself seemed to vibrate as Sylvan organic technology began to interface with Nexari systems. Above, the space battle took on a new dimension as bioships positioned themselves around the tower. This wasn't just a battle anymore, it was a prison break on a planetary scale. "All human forces prepare for multiple civilian contacts," Patel ordered. "We're about to have a lot of confused and angry allies. Let's make sure they know who helped set them free." The tower's crystalline surface began to pulse with new energy as thousands of stasis pods began their awakening sequence. The Nexari were about to learn another harsh lesson. Their carefully preserved specimens were about to become their worst nightmare. General Olivia Blackwood stood in the vast crystalline chamber of the Nexari High Council, now transformed into an impromptu command center. Around her, representatives from 24 formerly imprisoned species congregated, their liberation barely hours old. The chamber's transparent walls showed the ongoing space battle above, now heavily tilted in favor of the combined forces of humanity, the Sylvan Collective, and the newly freed species. "The Nexari leadership has barricaded themselves in their inner sanctum," Captain Dante reported via hologram, his image flickering beside a towering, insectoid being that had introduced itself as a Cathari war chief. "They're threatening to activate something called the Final Protocol. Their ultimate weapon, The Cathari clicked, its translator conveying both words and emotion. We witnessed its testing from our stasis pods centuries ago. It can rewrite the quantum structure of space itself within a star system. Ambassador Thella's organic interface pulsed with concern. If activated, it would destroy everything in this system, including them. They would rather commit suicide than admit defeat. Blackwood's expression hardened. Not on my watch, Colonel Patel's status. Ground forces have secured 80% of the capital. Patel's voice came through clear and determined. We've located the power source for their quantum weapon. It's tied directly into the planet's core. We can't shut it down conventionally. Perhaps, a new voice interjected, conventional methods are not required. An ethereal being of pure energy floated forward, one of the freed species called the Luminari. Our race exists partially in quantum space. With the right interface, we could disrupt their weapon's core programming. And we can provide that interface, Thella added, her bioship's tendrils pulsing with possibility. Human quantum disruptors combined with our organic tech could create a pathway for the Luminari. Blackwood surveyed the assembled aliens, each species bringing unique abilities and technologies to the table. This was what the Nexari had feared most, the combined strength of those they had tried to dominate. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Energy readings are spiking," Dante reported. 20 minutes, maybe less." "Then let's end this," Blackwood commanded. "Captain, coordinate with the Allied fleet. Keep their orbital defenses occupied. Colonel Patel, get your teams in position. Ambassador Thella, work with the Luminari. Everyone else, prepare for the fight of your lives." The next 15 minutes were a symphony of coordination. Human ghost fleet ships and Sylvan biovessels engaged in complex maneuvers, drawing Nexari fire. On the ground, Earth's troops fought alongside newly freed warriors, each species adapting and combining their combat styles in ways the Nexari had never imagined possible. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "We've breached the inner sanctum, but General, you need to see this." The video feed showed what appeared to be the Nexari leadership, but not as anyone had expected. They weren't the imposing conquerors they'd presented themselves as. Instead, they were frail, almost childlike beings, surrounded by technology that seemed to dwarf them. "We only wanted to preserve," one of them spoke through a translation field. "The galaxy is chaos, species rise and fall. We sought to maintain order, to keep samples of each race safe in our collection." "Safe?" Blackwood's voice was sharp. "You imprisoned sentient beings like specimens in a zoo. You attacked Earth without provocation. And now you destroy an entire star system rather than accept that your way isn't the only way." "You don't understand," the Nexari leader insisted. "The weapon is already armed. Even if you kill us, it will activate. Our collection will be preserved in data, even if the physical specimens are lost." That's when a new voice joined the conversation, Admiral Viktor Petrov's voice. "Actually, I understand perfectly." Everyone in the command center froze. On the video feed, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Admiral Petrov, scarred but very much alive, stood among a group of freed human prisoners, scientists and diplomats taken during the attack on Harmony Station. "Admiral," Blackwood whispered. "They kept us in stasis," Petrov explained, "studying how humans could resist their technology, but they never considered that we might understand their systems well enough to influence them from inside stasis. We've been sabotaging their weapon for months, right under their noses." The Nexari leader's expression shifted from confidence to horror as warnings began blaring throughout their facility. Their ultimate weapon, their final solution, was failing, corrupted by the very specimens they had thought safely contained. "Humanity never fought alone," Petrov continued, addressing the Nexari. "We had help from your prisoners. Every species you thought safely preserved was actually learning, adapting, preparing. Today isn't just your defeat, it's the birth of something new." Blackwood smiled as understanding dawned. This wasn't just a military victory. This was the beginning of a new galactic order, one built on cooperation rather than collection, on mutual respect rather than preservation. "All forces," she commanded, "secure the facility. The war is over." In the days that followed, as the dust settled on the Nexari homeworld, representatives from Earth, the Sylvan Collective, and all the freed species gathered to form what would become known as the Galactic Coalition. The Nexari themselves, stripped of their empire but offered a chance at redemption, would eventually join as well, having learned that true strength comes not from preserving life in stasis, but from allowing it to grow and evolve naturally. Admiral Petrov, speaking at the First Coalition Council, summed it up best. The Nexari thought they were collecting specimens of life in the galaxy. Instead, they accidentally created the greatest alliance the stars have ever seen. Sometimes, the best preserved specimens are the ones allowed to remain wild and free. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, far from being primitive newcomers, had proven themselves to be natural leaders in this new age of cooperation and mutual defense. The stars themselves seemed brighter, knowing they now shone on a united galaxy rather than a controlled collection.